Thank you to Sirius Black from bringing us a Genesis cover from over in Europe. That was As Daylight, off the CD, As Daylight Breaks. The song was No Son of Mine. It is 9:30 here. You're listening to WVLP 103.1 FM in Valparaiso, Indiana. And the second and fourth Sundays of the month, if you've listened before, you know we like to start talking wrestling around that time. In the studio here is Jeremy Seabolt, the owner and promoter of Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling, which does a lot of shows here in Valpo at Inman's Recreation Center. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having us.
And so we're gonna kick it over to the wrestling talk after we listen to some intro music.
Your insubordination will not be tolerated.
All right, and welcome to the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program, a big fancy name for half an hour of local Northern Indiana wrestling talk. And sitting in WVLP is Jeremy Seabolt from Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling, and he's in here tonight to tell us about why he does what he does and talk about some upcoming shows that we've got going on in the area. Let me run down a couple of recent shows that just happened here, because there's a lot of different groups around here, and a lot of the same names kind of pop up from time to time in different organizations. Just last night, we had Pro Wrestling King running an operation out in near South Bend at Laval Junior Senior High School in Lakeville, Indiana. And also that same night, so double dipping, we had Acme Championship Wrestling running a show in DeMotte, Indiana. And the weekend before that, RCW did a show in Elkhart, Indiana, and names on these cards like Tank and Brutus Dillon and the police department, and lots of names that we get to hear a lot in this area. If you'd like to know some of the specific rundowns of those shows, sometimes I would give them out in a lot of detail here, but because we want to start talking about Valparaiso wrestling in particular, what I'll do is I will refer you to metalprofessor.com, and you can see some summaries of the shows that I've been to, at least, PWK and RCW recently. And see what's been going on and the kinds of action that you can catch in the area. There is a lot of action in this area, in the Northwest Indiana region, the Northern Indiana region. I kind of stretch what I consider Valparaiso out a little bit because the phone is making the static. So sorry, we're having technical conversations right here. So we'll get that sorted out. But yeah, so I'm talking about wrestling locally, and by that I mean, at least to me personally, probably like an hour and a half driving distance away, because I don't know what's the farthest you've ever driven to go see a wrestling show.
I went to OVW in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. It was about a 5-hour drive.
Okay.
Just to see my main man Ryan Howe, who's from the region here. Mm-hmm. Right before my first show, actually, I needed a promo, and I thought, well, crap, I'll just drive 5 hours to Kentucky to get a promo instead of letting him just email it to me, because that's how smart I was.
Nice. Was it a good show?
Definitely a good show. OVW is a very good product and put a lot of good people into the market for sure. You know, trained a lot of good people down there. Danny Davis is definitely a good guy for the business.
Good. So I think my personal limit is about, unless it's a really special event, I've been willing to drive about an hour and a half to get to different places. So I'll talk about shows in, here in Valpo, definitely South Bend, maybe out to Fort Wayne once in a while. Sadly, I was starting to think about heading for Lafayette, because there's a wrestling school down there called School of Rock, but I guess they just closed their doors, and they had their final show just last weekend.
Absolutely. Billy Rock has trained some of the best talent in the Midwest, and a lot of those young men and women you can see at Smash Mouth. The current class, we've got a few kids coming in this next show. But the class before that, we've actually had, I want to say he had 8 or 9 students, and we've had every one of those kids on our show at some point. So, and then other names like Trip Cassidy, Heidi Lovelace are all trained by Billy Rock. So, definitely trained some good people at the School of Rock. Sorry to see it go. Billy Rock's definitely a good guy and a good outlet, for those kids to learn from.
And when do we get to see a wrestling school in Valpo?
I don't know. I've been talking about opening the Smash Academy. Initially, we were going to open about a year ago with Shannon Moore as our lead trainer, but Shannon has since moved out of the area. So we're in the process of actually looking in the south suburbs over in Lansing area at opening a school, and I'm in talks with somebody to be a trainer, a wrestler out of Chicago named Cody Jones to do our training. So his dad was a wrestler, and he's been around probably 15, 18 years, and he's going to be coming into some future shows for us. But yeah, we're looking at it definitely, and we've had some interest. It's just a matter of everything falling into place and everything lining up.
Well, I think with modern technology, you should investigate the options of an online wrestling school. I think that would work really well.
I think it would too. I think Rod Street can help me there, maybe, since he graduated from the most prestigious online police academy in the country.
No, that's what I was thinking of when I said, how many Rod Streets are there actually? Because I think the show I went to just last night for PWK was probably the first show I've been to in a few months that he wasn't on. So how many Rod Streets are there actually out there going around from show to show, or is he just one man that travels all the time?
Rod is one man that travels all the time and has about 942 SWAT members in different cities. So you might notice the SWAT team changes shape and size depending on where they're at.
Well,
so
they get introduced as like SWAT team member number 47 and things like that.
Right.
Funny. Okay, so you own and promote and run Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling, which does operate here in Valpo. And so the big question to kick things off along those lines is why? What made you decide you wanted to do that?
Because I had money to flush down the toilet. Sounded like a good idea. The reason I decided to start Smash Mouth was pretty simple. There were a few companies in the area, and I just saw, from my own personal view, a niche of something that wasn't being met. And by that I mean there wasn't a lot of former name talent coming to the area. I felt a lot of companies doing shows, but it was just, the same old guys, the same everything. So when I started Smash Mouth, my goal was to bring in some different talent. So I tapped talent pools outside of Northwest Indiana. I brought in guys like Drew Skills, Remy Wilkins, Apollo Starr, Tank, Lightning Bolt Johnson. And I brought in guys that weren't necessarily household names to the area that had been here for years and years. And then, I started bringing in some of the bigger superstars. Our first show we had Oscar, former manager for Men on a Mission. We had Al Snow. We had Ryan Howe, Chase Stevens. So we just wanted to tap the market and kind of do something a little different, something that wasn't being done. We wanted to go against the status quo, essentially. And that's just basically how we got started. And that was this November, next weekend of our show will be our 2-year anniversary.
That's great. I think my first intro to it was Bowling Alley Brawl 3 was the first show that I got to.
That was Bushwhacker Luke, where we had no sound the first half of the show.
Nice.
Yes. We got we're live on Facebook right now, and we got the Midwest Monsters fighting with JC Bunyan in a Facebook chat.
Oh, sweet. I'll have to go back and check out the transcript.
Right. Yeah. We got about 10 viewers, and we got some of the wrestlers arguing about who's going to kill each other at the next show.
Who would have thought such a thing, like that kind of violence, would be involved in a wrestling show?
Right. Wrestling shows should be nonviolent, I think.
I think so. So, you've got a couple of layers when you're talking about bringing in people. I've made the disclaimer a couple of other times when I've started trying to talk wrestling and at least sound, 20% intelligent every once in a while, that I don't know. I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know, and I'm basically learning a lot of stuff from Facebook. So when you're talking about bringing in people from outside. Like some of the folks you mentioned, I think they operate more kind of in the central Indiana area, like Drew Skills and Remy. Are they from Indianapolis?
Indianapolis,
okay.
yeah.
And then the other guys like Tank and Lightning Bolt Johnson, they were more centered kind of in the northeast.
Yes,
part of Indiana.
those guys are kind of out towards Warsaw.
Yeah.
Brutus Dillon is another guy that we bring in out of South Bend. So we use a handful of what I classify as local guys. Gabe the Brave Juarez is local. Dakota Prodigy is local. We've had Nick Cutler in a few times. He's from the local area, but no, we try to bring in guys from outside the area, and then we get feedback based on who appeals and who doesn't.
Right.
Crowd likes them and wants them back, we bring them back. Or if the crowd really hates them and wants to see them get their teeth kicked in, we bring them back some more. So it works out real well.
It does. And then beyond that, in that reach that's regional, you also bring in a lot of folks that are familiar to people because they're a more famous name, especially a nostalgic name, like Bushwhacker Luke and folks like that. So who's like your favorite person that you brought in of that kind of tier of folks so far?
I would say my three favorite. I got three favorites that I brought in. Two because of the nostalgia factor from when I was a kid, and then one just based on the reaction we got with the fans and stuff. The two best people we brought in my opinion, or the nostalgia factor that applies to them, would be Demolition and Bushwhacker Luke, because they were on when I was a kid. I remember walking around doing the Bushwhacker March when I was a kid, and just thinking, how cool is Demolition with their face paint and stuff like that. But, just outside of that, like, I get to spend time with these guys, and, I talk to them leading into the show and text with them. And then when they're here, we, generally have dinner, things like that, and just to hear the stories and talk to these guys. And a lot of them are genuinely nice guys. Like, they just love giving back to the business, and they're at the point now in their careers where they just enjoy, getting out and doing the shows. It's not so much about the money as it is these guys of getting out and, talking to their fans and meeting their fans and, that type of stuff. Because when you're on the road 300 days a year, you don't necessarily have that opportunity or that time.
So now that you've invested all of your money in the commode,
right,
and you've flushed it down and kind of checked out your interior plumbing to make sure it all flows finally out of the house.
It doesn't. It's got a lot of leaks. I'm telling you.
I believe it. So what you keep doing this, and so there must be some kind of reward, right? So what's your favorite thing about being in this?
A lot of the reason I keep doing it is for, I won't say for my kids, but my kids enjoy it, but for kids in general. When you go to a Smash Mouth show or any indie show, you typically have a lot of kids, and seeing the interaction that the kids have, with the wrestlers, and building that relationship with the kids is something that keeps me going. It's something that I appreciate. Again, my kids love it. I loved it as a kid. I've been to a couple WrestleManias. I was at. I think it was WrestleMania 6 with Hogan and Warrior in Toronto, and that's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. That's like, if you're a wrestling fan, that's a history-making moment, right. And I can say I was there. Not to say that that's going to happen in Valparaiso, but, I'm making those memories with my kids, right. Where my kids, and, when they're 30 and they have kids, are going to be like, hey, I remember doing this with my dad. And that's a big part of it for me, is the family aspect.
I think so. I mean, that's as an audience member, I can see some instances that happen where I kind of look at it and go, that kid is now a fan for life. Even if it's in a small group or a small venue, a quiet crowd, the kids are the ones that bring stuff alive sometimes, right? I'm the worst audience member because I'm a polite clapper, right? I don't whoop and holler. I don't stand up and pump my fists. I'm a polite clapper when a good match is done. But I look around at the kids, and they're whooping and hollering, and they're jumping up and down and bringing the signs for their favorite wrestlers. And when they get a really good up-close interaction with somebody, even if it's at Inman's and there's 200 people in there, I don't think the kids care how big or small it is. It's like that something good happens to them, and they're a fan for life. Right,
and you can go on our Facebook page and stuff and see tons of examples of that. I mean, the Lowbody family is a good example of that. They come to every show we have, and their kids make signs. And when we had Billy Gunn in June, Billy picked up one of their kids, and it lit that kid's world up. And it's a big deal to him to this day that even though there was 100 people there or whatever, that Billy Gunn picked him up and gave him a high five, and that just it made his world, and that's what makes it worth it. My daughter comes to the ring with a lot of these guys.
Yes.
She manages them. She just had a birthday. She was 9. She just turned 10. And that's something she talks about. She as an example, she got to manage Robbie E and DJ Z at a show, and they brought her out to the ring and picked her up and carried her around the ring, and it just made her feel like $1 million. And it's like, as a parent, how do I put a price tag on that? Like, it's worth every dime I spent to run that show to have that moment for my kid.
Right.
And that's why we do it. Not just, like I said, not just for my kids. Last year, I don't know, were you at the show we had Gangrel at?
Yes.
So last year we did my little guy's birthday at the show.
Right, I remember
Came
that.
out, to John Cena's theme music.
Yep.
Well, this year I have it on good authority that Sin Cara might make an appearance.
Ah, very good.
Because he turned 5 years old. So, he's talking about this year he's going to come out and do Sin Cara's entrance, and he's like, Dad, I just wish I could do the trampoline jump. And I'm like, buddy, you're 5 years old. We can't do that yet. But, it's like those moments for me, my kid goes around and he's in preschool. He's 5 years old and goes to his preschool class and goes, I got a famous wrestler coming to my birthday party because we're going to have a bis next weekend. And it just lights his world up that, we're having a birthday party for my 5-year-old at the show, and he gets to go out and everybody claps for him and cheers for him. And, he thinks Abyss is coming strictly for his birthday party. And it's like, cool, it works.
Yeah. So how much creative input do your kids get?
Not a lot.
You don't trust them with that?
No.
You don't trust them with the reins on that end?
No. About as creative as it gets is asking if they can manage somebody and running it by, said talent and stuff. And I know my daughter's excited that Colin Cambridge is coming back in November because that's who she typically manages. And she's all excited that Colin's coming back because Colin actually paid her money one show for being his manager, gave her a couple $, and she's like, Dad, I got paid, and I'm like, keep it up, kid. You're onto something.
Is Colin's manager coming with him? I can't remember his name, but
Colin doesn't have a manager.
He doesn't?
No.
Okay.
Nope, just my daughter.
All right, just her.
Yep, just her when he's around. So, but yeah, so we've shuffled some guys out, shuffled some guys in. So Colin's one of the guys that's coming back in. Dakota Prodigy will be back in November as well.
Good.
He's been down training at the School of Rock, actually. So that ended, and now Dakota will be there, and looking forward to it.
That's good to hear. So let's talk about some show specifics. So just generally in the area coming up next weekend, it's going to be really, really busy. So for wrestling fans out there that have a car, a motorcycle, or the invisible jet plane, whatever it is.
Electric scooter.
There you
we
go.
We want to see you there.
Just leave early to make sure you have time. But so Friday the 18th next weekend, Pro Wrestling King is running an event at the Century Center in South Bend. Saturday the 19th, Fire Pro Wrestling is doing an event at Impact Christian Church over in Merrillville. And then that same night, Saturday the 19th, we have the first of your double bill where you and Funktified Entertainment.
Funktified Entertainment, FWF.
Smash Funk 7 and 8. So 7 happens in Warsaw, Indiana, and 8 happens right here in Edmond. So how did you guys come about? Because this is what, the third time you've done the back-to-back thing?
It'll be the fourth time.
Fourth time. So how did all that start?
Basically, FWF is owned by JD Smooth, who's out of Ohio, but heavily involved with FWF would be Lightning Bolt Johnson, Tank, JC Bunyan. Those guys are all in Warsaw where the shows run. So we just, and them working on our shows and whatnot, just decided that, hey, we want to do, some names. We want to bring in some of these legends, some of these superstars. And basically, we just said, hey, let's do some double shots. Let's try it. And so far, it's seemed to work fairly well. People have been fairly receptive to it. A lot of companies are collaborating nowadays. I mean, you look at Worlds Collide with RCW, PWK,
Yeah.
and Strong Style Wrestling in South Bend. They're getting ready to do their third one in February. So, they're having success, and, we're like, well, why can't we work together? Why can't we put on better shows for the fans, combine some talent and take, because they have some talent that we don't use, and we have some talent that they don't use, although we do use some talent. But we're like, why can't we pick, the best talent out of both companies, put them together, and just put on a killer show? And that's what we strive to do.
Now, I try to limit myself to one show a weekend. So when it's a weekend like the one coming up, that's kind of hard. But I'm pretty sure that if I started doing more, I'd come home and find the locks had been changed. So, but how many are there people that make the trip for both of these? Do you see a lot of folks that come to the Saturday and the Sunday?
A lot of the diehard fans do, absolutely. We get, I would say, when we do the double shots, I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 people hit both shows. It just, a lot of it depends on the superstar we're bringing in, and the match card, because even some of the guys that aren't famous have a following. Fans follow Lightning Bolt Johnson around. He gets a following that follows him to PWK, that follows him to RCW, that follows him everywhere he goes. So Congo Kong's another one that has a pretty good fan base. So a lot of it is based on who's booked on both cards and so forth and so on. But I would say, a good 10 to 20 people typically come from Warsaw up my way if there's a double shot. If it's just a solo show, it's usually a little bit higher of a number. As an example, when we had Scott Steiner in last year with Lightning Bolt Johnson and Drew Skills, when we did that match, we had about 75, 80 people come up out of Warsaw, just because they were supporting Lightning Bolt Johnson and, different guys on the card. So, a lot of it just varies based on the weekend, the show, the talent, so forth and so on.
Okay. So for the folks that are in Valpo, what's the good stuff on the card? So this is coming up Sunday the 20th, right? So that's a week from today.
Yes.
And it's Sunday afternoon.
And we're going early so that way you can still get home to watch Lesnar and Goldberg.
There you go.
So once we, typically if we do Sundays, we try to go early anyways.
Right.
But once we realized Survivor Series was running, we're like, bump it up because, we don't want to compete with the WWE. We're not on that level.
Definitely.
But no, the card is headlined. The main event is going to be Drew Skills versus Abyss in a Monsters Ball match, which could involve anything from Abyss's barbed wire baseball bat to glass tacks, tables, chairs, ladders, bowling pins, bowling balls. Since we're at Inman's, I mean, you never know what they're going to dig up out of the back room or from under the ring.
So it's not a fans bring the weapons kind of thing. It's a whatever happens to be around.
Whatever happens to be around, absolutely.
It would be a shame if bowling pins did not get involved one way or another.
We've had one other street fight at Inman's, and it involved a bowling ball, bowling pins, and a giant teddy bear. So I can almost assume that some bowling balls and bowling pins are going to be involved in this match.
Good.
So, and I have it on good authority. Abyss is bringing his barbed wire baseball bat, Janice, and some thumbtacks. So I have that on good authority. I can't say what little birdie told me, but I hear the rumors that that stuff will definitely be there.
Excellent. And then, so speaking of Abyss, is he coming back for Smash Fest?
He will be back for Smash Fest.
So that is not to be confused with Smash Funk.
Right. Smash Fest is going to be a all day long fan fest that we're doing in April. It's going to be, I would say 6 or 7 hours of wrestling and music. We're looking for a band right now, so we're going to try to incorporate some music into it. We got Kevin the Illusionist coming, going to have him doing magic tricks there. And then we've got in the ballpark of 20 to 25 former or current either TNA, WWE, WCW, ECW guys on some sort of level that have been on TV.
Can you name some off the top of your head?
Adam Rose will be there. Abdullah the Butcher. We found Abdullah the Butcher. Bobby Fulton.
You make it sound like that was like you're watching the show, the hunt for, was it the curse of The Oak Island?
Oak Island. That's my new show.
So the search for Abdullah the Butcher, was that a thing?
Yes. Well, Abdullah hasn't really been doing a lot in the wrestling world lately. And he's now actually, he's 80 years old and he's training to come back. He's actually wrestling a match at Smash Fest.
Oh, wow.
So, but we got Bobby Fulton from NWA WCW days, Chase Stevens, who was with the early days of TNA, beautiful Bobby Eaton's coming in, Trevor Murdoch from WWE, Tyson Dukes, who was just on the CWC Cruiserweight Classic show, Cody Deaner, who was in TNA's coming in. We have all three members of Decay, which is Crazy Steve, Abyss, and Rosemary, and actually in talking to Abyss, this will be their first appearance together outside of TNA. They've never all three been in one place outside of TNA. So we got that going on. We got former WWE referee Justin King and Mark Harris will be there. Just a slew of guys. I mean, Colin Delaney, who was in the ECW revamp on WWE in the mid-2000s, will be there. Trying to think, I don't want to leave anybody out. Oh, Mantar. And we dug PN News up too out of Europe.
I saw that.
PN News has been in Europe for the last 15 years over in Austria. And he's actually back in the States and going to be taking some bookings and stuff soon. So we've got a lot of positive feedback off PN News. Like, where'd you dig him up at? And I was like, found him in Europe. So
it's like one of those basketball players that leaves the NBA and goes over to Europe for a while and then comes back.
Like good old Marty Stoudemire retired out of the NBA and now is playing in Jerusalem. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got 20-ish names. Tugboat's coming in. We just signed him to come in. And we still have a guest general manager that we haven't announced that we're going to announce November the 20th next week. So all I can say is Smash Fest might end up getting a little bit hardcore.
So that's going to start people salivating.
Yes.
So you're saying the announcement's going to be November 20th. Will that announcement come at Smash Funk 8?
That will. So absolutely.
We Smash Funk 8 too.
We plan on having a video package together from our guest general manager. Making his announcement that he will be there, and then maybe putting a stipulation or two on some of the announced matches that we already got.
Sounds great. Now we have just about a minute left. Is for the Smash Fest. The audience has a chance to get involved a little bit.
Absolutely. We are selling meet and greets, guest manager spots where you can live out your dream and come down to the ring with your favorite superstar, whoever's available and left. Be a rosebud with Adam Rose, manager, some superstar, whoever that may be. And with that, you'll get announced to the ring, get a copy of the DVD once the show's done and edited. And, it's an awesome opportunity to come out and meet so many legends and so many people in one spot.
Sounds great. Now, I will say that I have purchased, or I will be purchasing, one of the guest manager spots.
Absolutely.
So I have two important questions. One is, when do I get to start trash talking whoever his opponent is going to be on social media? And two, do I have to sign a waiver so I don't sue you if I get hit in the head with a chair?
Yes, for the waiver. And as soon as the match is announced, you can talk as much crap as you want.
Excellent.
Real quick before we go, I just want to plug our Facebook is Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling. You can find us on Twitter at SPW219. You can look us up on YouTube by searching Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling, and SmashMouthProWrestling.com is our website where you can find all of our upcoming events, superstars, previous guests we've had in, upcoming guest shows, that type of stuff.
All right. And if there's one wrestling-related organization or person out there which is kind of below the radar that you think doesn't get as much attention as they should, as people are out there searching YouTube and Facebook and things for Smash Mouth stuff, what else should they look for while they're out there?
I would put over an organization called the AIWF. It's kind of similar to the NWA. It's a collection of organizations which I belong to. There's 94 companies and a lot of good talent out there, a lot of good undiscovered talent that people may not know about, like the Tokyo Monster Kangas. Amazing man. And Eric Wayne is another one. Just guys that are busting their butts every weekend but are outside of the Midwest that I think people would really enjoy. And Eric is somebody we're bringing in for Smash Fest, and I think the fans will really, really like him. But there's just tons of talent. The Perfect Tens are out there. Legion's a part of the Midwest, which I bring them, or the AIWF, which I bring them in out of Michigan. There's just so much talent outside of the Midwest for people to explore and look at.
Okay, great. Well, we have managed to kill half an hour talking about wrestling. That was pretty awesome. Thanks you for coming into the studio.
No problem. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Jeremy Seabolt with Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling. We got an event. He has an event, I'm involved, coming up November 20th on Sunday, and then keep an eye out for Smash Fest in early 2017.
April 8th. We may have a show in between, but right now the schedule is April 8th for Smash Fest.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to WVLP's normal stuff and the replay of Punk Rock Radio.
Thank you.